Good morning, everyone. It's Karina from Embrace Midwifery Care and Birth Center. We are gearing up for an intense week this week. We have doula training, Dona doula training, a breastfeeding class for care providers, and a childbirth education class coming this weekend. We have the Nurture Fair on Saturday. We have clinic, of course, all week. We have several mamas due. We have a plethora of things going on. So be careful what you wish for. I wake up every morning and think, oh my gosh, it's happening and it's busy and it's amazing. So today we're going to talk about bringing your brain to labor. And before we do that, I want to just hit on something that I think is near and dear to my heart. So I often hear two sides of a coin. I hear, number one, that providers and practitioners don't listen to clients or to patients, that they dominate that experience. The flip side of that is practitioners in this day and age are starting to provide what they have kind of been made to provide. So what I mean by that is, because our society is so ready to sue, and I'd like to have $1 for every time I have somebody say, oh my God, I'd sue, that instead of wanting to take ownership for their experiences, they want to point the finger outward to somebody else. Now, before anybody jumps on me, I want to say that there are times when truly people are liable for their actions, for their neglect, for their lack of care, for their ineptitude. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about providers in the medical model now who have to choose often whether or not they can continue a line of care because it's not as guaranteed as it could be. Let me see if I can explain that better. So we talk a lot about how cesarean rates are 37% in Richmond. And we know that that's true, but only about 10 to 15% at the very top of those should be clinically indicated cesareans. That's per World Health Organization's numbers. So what about the other 20%? A lot of that is some are chosen, some are second cesareans that practitioners, doctors don't offer VBACs. But again, even in that situation, a lot of that is about liability, right? Because if physicians do a cesarean, there's nothing else they could have done. So their liability goes down. And the reason it goes down is because now, hi Linz, now there's nothing anybody could have possibly said that they could have done more of, right? Like, I did a cesarean, so therefore I did everything I could to make this travel through birth safe for mom and baby. So we're kind of getting what we ask for in a way. And I know that's pretty volatile to say, but if we want to hand our control of our care over to a provider, then we have to acknowledge that they have to protect themselves as well as protect us. So there becomes this release of our own liability and our own control. But then the doctor steps into that space with some of his best interest in heart too. So one of the things that I think is really different about midwifery care is informed choice. Informed choice is about really giving our parents good information, evidence-based information, current information, and acknowledging and trusting that with that information, they are going to make the very best decision they can for their family, for their mom, for their baby. So how does this differ? Well, we as midwives often spend much more time educating our parents about the current evidence, about what really are the pros and the cons, the risks and the benefits of any given procedure. And then we allow that parent to mull that over, to really ask some questions, and we want that parent to make the right decision for their baby. Hi, Steph. The reason is that and I'm going to speak for myself at this point, I truly believe that nobody wants a healthier baby and a healthier mom than the mom and the baby and the dad, right? Or the partner. I often tell my parents, I say, I don't get to put a helmet on your child when you teach him or her to ride a bike. I don't get to make the decision to put on their seatbelt every time you get into a car. So therefore, why do I assume that I have the right to dominate and to control your decisions about the safety of your child, or how you want to deliver this baby, or how you want to medicate through your labor and birth process or through your pregnancy? It's really about handing the responsibility back to the parents and becoming part of the team with them instead of always being the dominant force. So a little bit more about maybe being the coach and less about being the owner of the team and like telling everybody what to do, right? So one of the ways that I really work on this here, we emphasize informed choice so strongly that we do some really unique things at Embrace to make sure that our parents have that ability. So one of the things is hour-long appointments. One of the things is really taking time to talk. One of the things is teaching our parents about the acronym B.R.A.I.N, B.R.A.I.N. And that's what I think is an easy way for parents, whether you're with me, whether you're with a doctor, whether you're in the hospital with a nurse, to ask the right question so that you can make the right decision for your family. So the B of brain is the benefits. What are the benefits of this procedure that you're recommending or that you're telling me I need to have? What am I going to get out of it? What can I expect to benefit from it? And the R is risks. So what are the risks of this procedure? What could go wrong? What could happen that I'm not going to like or that is not going to be good for me or my baby? What are the alternatives? And this is a huge one. So often the standard of care comes in, this is what we're going to do now. What are the alternatives to this? There's always alternatives, unless this is a critical situation, right? And if that's true, then of course we're not asking about brain. We're heading off for really intensive care kind of things, surgery maybe. But what are the alternatives? There's always another option, almost always. So ask about that persistently. I is for two things, so it depends on who you are. Some people say I is for intuition, which how does it feel to you? And I'm pro intuition, like moms and dads kind of understand that. But more than that, I think a good, so you can do that on your own. You don't have to tell your provider like, oh, I'm going to spend some time with my intuition. Although I will tell you that a secret in a medical model of care is to, on the I part, tell them that you want to pray about it. And what that does is it gives you time to touch your intuition, to pray if you choose, but it lets everybody step out of the room so that you can truly process what's happening and have a conversation with your partner, with your doula, or with your midwife that allows you to really choose your care carefully. So intuition, but what I like even more maybe than that is indications. What are you seeing that makes you think that this is the next step for us? What are you seeing that tells me this needs to happen? So indications. So we have benefits, we have risk, we have alternatives, we have indications. And the last thing, are you ready? Is knowing that you have the right to say no. You are an autonomous, independent person, and just because you're someplace for care doesn't mean that you lose that power. So remember that you always have the right to say no. No thank you is a complete sentence. I had a client once we had transferred in, and she looked right at the nurse and the nurse said, the doctor sent me in to rupture your water. And she went through everything, and then at the very end, she said, no, thank you. And everybody kind of was like, oh my God, what do we do now? No, thank you. That's a complete sentence. No is no, and you don't lose your ability to say no just because you're in the hospital. We talk a lot about women, especially our right to say no. In many situations of our lives, this is an issue for women, right? And it truly, honestly, is also an issue in medical care. So you have the right to say no. So I think that if you take your brain with you, to labor. Write it down on a card, pull it out when you need it, ask these questions. You have the right to the answers. You have the right to keep asking the questions until you get a full answer, right? So when you say, what are the indications? And maybe somebody says, well, the doctor said we're supposed to. That's not an indication. That's not what they're thinking. Behind the scenes, they must have a reason they are going to make this move. So ask for true indications. And then from there, remember that no is always a full answer. Here at Embrace, I feel so strongly about this. This is really integral to our care here. Information, communication, and ultimately the parents' right to choose what is right for their families and their babies and their beliefs. So we actually send you home. Megan probably just got sent home with it here. It's about this thick. It's a binder full of evidence-based studies. And my goal was to have everything included in that we could really reasonably face in labor together. There's always, the unusual that could pop up. But this is information for my clients at late pregnancy to start looking at, what if we have to use antihemorrhagics? What are the benefits and the risks of that? What if we need to suture? What are the benefits and the risks of that? Do you want vitamin K for your baby? Do you want oral? Do you want a shot, an injection of it? Or do you want to do nothing? Do you want eye ointment? Does eye ointment, do you want to say yes or no to that? So when we give you this book, we give you time to spend reading as much or as little as you want, studying as much or as little as you want, and then bringing me back those questions so that we can truly have a dialogue and we can truly understand each other, and I can truly provide the kind of care that is in alignment with your desires and your beliefs and your expectations. As my clients know, I will always give you my opinion, but it is only my opinion, and I will never be upset or angry if you choose differently than what I think is best. This is not my baby. This is not my birth. This is yours. It's about respecting each other. It's about respecting mothers and partners and babies enough to know that they're going to leave our care as providers. I only get to work with you for less than a year. Then you're going to go out and you're going to raise this baby for 18 of them. You're in charge of this life, and you should be in charge of this life and these decisions from the get, as we say in the country, from the get. So find a provider that truly honors that for you. Find a provider, search one out, because nothing will make a bigger difference in your care than the provider you choose to walk this journey with. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great Monday. It's rainy and ugly out there in RVA, but we needed it, so I think it's all right. And come see us at the Nurture Fair. Come see us for our tours on Tuesdays at 10 and Tuesdays at 1 and Saturdays at 10. I don't know why I always get that confused. And we are booming here at Embrace. We love each of our new clients that are joining us, and we're so thankful. So have a great day. Bye-bye.